Map 3 is finally underway, and Harrison, this is actually going to be our final map of the quarterfinals. Regardless of the outcome, we will have a victor of this Mirage one-shot game. We've already decided our Parabellum TSM game, so it's all up to this map to decide who is going to that semifinal winners bracket match.
Yeah, and it's Clubhouse, which we know in the past one-shot have loved this map. We're also coming off of, one-shot winning 7-2 on Cafe after a 6-0 flawless attacking half. Thomas was our MVP from Coastline. Slippery and Quartz stepped up on map number 2. I think Quartz was 12-3. That's a 4.0 KD, and Slippery was not far behind. I think 12-5 at the end of that one. So huge stuff from both of them. But here on Clubhouse, we will have a Hibana Maverick ban. So half the hard breachers now cut away and leaving Thatcher up. Quite a rarity nowadays to see Thatcher in play, but that also means Bandit will come through full force. Cade, because Thatcher's up, doesn't need to be banned, and he will likely not be played all that much. We might still see him like on the basement, but otherwise, he won't be too effective. But the Valkyrie and the Mirror, of course, commonplace everywhere.
We do, of course, have a couple of things of note, right? You have remaining the Thatcher. You have remaining all of those classic entry denial, those hard breach denial operators that we know and love, right? The Bandit, the Kaid, the Mute, of course, all still in play. Not like you ever banned the Mute, but those Electro Claws, that is something of note, right? It's going to be something that these teams will have to worry about if indeed the defense chooses to bring that out. For now, Mirage, as they will be starting off on defense, it seems that Mute is going to be their preferred entry denial. But speaking of entry denial devices, that's what Capcan wields. And Benji is going to be pulling out the Capcan in this first round. A peculiar pick, but we've seen Mirage bring out some more unique operators here and there, and it's worked for them for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, a Capcan's always a fun operator to watch, especially when people run into them. Oh, it's so satisfying. Interesting, though, that Benji is employing impact grenades rather than the C4, since Dream already has them. Maybe, wanting the double impact trick on the kitchen hatch to really ensure that one shot can't get it open, because that's the other effect of the Hibana ban. I mean, she's already really the most important operator, the most important hard breacher on this map, but it's her ability to avoid the impact tricks or be impact trick and still be able to open hatches that really makes her powerful on this bottom floor defense. But if even 3 of these impacts hit, your options are severely limited. I mean, even 2 impacts on the ace charges mean that Swaylin won't be able to open a full hatch, and that's only after one-shot deal with this roam.
Right, I mean, they have a lot to work their way through right off the bat. Of course, that is going to be their primary goal. You can see Storms up on the roof trying to initially get into the building, identify where these Mirage defenders are positioned, and figuring out exactly how they want to deal with them. Same thing goes for Quartz, right? On that Thatcher. He's opened up that jacuzzi wall, dealing with that camera as he works his way in. Really just trying to make sure that Mirage have no ground that they can retake into, that everyone who moves back to the site has to be moved back for good. And it seems that Mirage, they're not going to be too hesitant about backing off. All but one of those defenders has relocated and has moved closer to the site, so they're not as much in, the path of one shot as they enter into the building. Benji, of course, still in play, looking to potentially make an impact over on the Garage side, but one shot, they are pushing the main stairs right now. Garage seems to be the last of their worries.
Benji, though, the Capcan that I was so looking forward to seeing kill someone with his traps, will suffer the first death at the hands of Slippery, looking to keep the hot streak he had on, well, both Cafe and Coastline, really, as the first thermite charge is already placed, just raring to go. It will blow up the Moto hatch, so one shot preparing for a Moto drop. Will yet to be seen if it's Moto Blue or Moto Kitchen. Storms will open the bottom main barricade and then start going to work above Kitchen. So I guess we have our answer right here. No one is actually playing in back Arsenal, so no kills for Storms to find. But the most important part about that destruction is it prevents anyone from rotating there later in the round, or if they do, it's a much more dangerous prospect. But loading He's got a shield at his disposal, facing the main stairs, just where One Shot want to come down. And while the only way to deal with that is either destroying it with some of these nades from Storms, as Slippery is out of utility, or coming through the Moto door, but I imagine that Smoke's back is going to be covered, so Storms better be on point with these explosives.
You can see that Mirage, they're looking to step up and stop this attack before it can really get going. That, of course, is going to be Loading's job. He's got those toxic smokes, and they're perfectly in place. That is, in fact, the last one that he's expended, and so he's put himself in a pretty tough spot, trapped in the corner. Not a lot of options. He's going to have to rely on this shotgun to get him out of trouble. He could rely on Thomas as well, who's trying to provide this support. Shotgun will do dividends not once, but twice. Slippery and Storms, though, they get it back, and that could be huge. Dream claps back, but so does Storms, leaving Nyx last alive. He'll walk straight to the rotate, and his head will be taken clean off. One Shot. They storm their way in straight into Church. They play the trade game beautifully, and they'll take the round because of it.
And I mean, speaking of, storming in, Storms on the coverage towards the latter half of that round. I mean, the big highlight was the trade game. Once again, One Shot coming alive on Cafe, playing their trade game, and that continuing, that theme, still here on Clubhouse. When they go in for the execute, sure, the shotgun does work, but One Shot able to kill that smoke, get behind the minibar for that default plant spot, and everyone from Mirage, they were being forced back towards Arsenal, or towards Dirt. They were being forced back towards Blue by the vertical destruction and the hatches being opened and such. They didn't have any plant denial utility. They had to try and go in with their guns. Sure, they found a couple kills, but One Shot remained ahead in the trade game, and big ups to Storms for getting 2 of those last kills. He and Slippery, in fact, getting all 5 in that round. Huge ups to both of those players, really solidifying that first round for One Shot and setting the pace.
I mean, talk about setting the pace, because, and I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but we just saw an incredibly dominant performance by One Shot on Cafe. We saw them go flawless on the attacking side. If Mirage want to have a chance here, they cannot slip into the same pattern again. They need to stop it right now. It's just one round, and I get that, but Clubhouse attack, it is... I mean, every round you get here is extremely vital, and if One Shot can have another dominant half like we just saw them have on Cafe, Mirage are going to have a troubling time, bridging that gap again. They need to get a hold of this now. I'm glad they're changing bomb sites. They're heading to CCTV and cache. Basement didn't work. Lovely. Try something else. But they need to get a hold of this attack, and they've got to do it soon. One Shot are looking clean. They're looking really confident on the attacking side, and I don't blame them. They're showing that they deserve every right of that.
And they've already opened up angles through Garage. Nyx has been spotted out downstairs. Slip is on the hunt, and he will nab his prey. Nyx dead really early on. Well done to the downstairs clear. Either Slippery just by himself, or if there's aided drones, I'm sure there was. Well done to those players. They've got the Bandit of Loading, though. Supported by a Signal Jammer, this is going to be another obstacle that One Shot have to deal with. So far, their utility game has not really been tested all that much. Until now, at least I assume, but Loading was distracted by something, I guess? I'm not quite sure. He doesn't even attempt the bandit trick.
Dream now forced in a pretty tough spot because, of course, without the bandit trick happening, that breach has now been successfully opened up, and at any time, somebody from One Shot could just come sneaking on in. That's going to be Dream's primary job, to deny that entry on the top of those red stairs. Benji, of course, will be assisting in that endeavor with these toxic smokes, but because he is currently positioned on rafters, he's got couple other priorities. He wants to delay the run-in from that garage door rather than that breach. He's got to worry about somebody pushing up those rafter stairs and taking him out, because in this decision of do you push garage to establish the crossfire or do you push construction and push from cache, One Shot seemed to have made that decision. It does seem that garage is on their list of things to get done here, and they have forced Benji to use most of his toxic smokes. They're picking up kills while they do it. Slippery will line up Loading. Benji is down before even being able to deploy that final toxic gas. There goes Dream. The site is crumbling. One Shot are putting up a performance right now, and is going to all fall on the shoulders of Thomas, who cannot do a thing. It is Slippery and it is Storms just pouring their way through that bomb site. completely unstoppable.
And that's the story of that round, was all Slippery. 4 kills, starting things off on the roam clear and then picking off nearly every single site player one by one with that LMG. Perfect gunplay from him in that round. Mirage just exposing themselves over and over, either whether it be through the wall or Mirage, trying to make a play to get something back. The Zofia was able to catch them every time. And that was just a textbook attack from One Shot, with even without Slippery. Like, the utility game went well. They opened the wall with not really much contention from the Bandit, opened Garage to force the Smoke's position to be extremely exposed and took him out from the rappel, swiftly took Garage after that, made sure Mirage, again, could not get a single foothold in that round. And now Mirage are going to go back down to the basement. Seems like a pretty similar, if not the same, setup, even with down to the cap can, with One Shot already dealt with pretty well. So I'm interested to see what Mirage's adjustment is here.
Well, they've got to make something happen because, I mean, it's 2 rounds in a row where One Shot have looked really clean. The second one even more dominant than the first. We're seeing the cap can come out again from Benji. Dream sticking with the Legion. A pretty similar lineup, if not identical, to the one that we saw Mirage run with on that first basement defense. And we are going to return to the very same territory. Mirage, I mean, they're clearly showing us that they're pretty comfortable flexing on to a lot of different operator roles. Maybe, you want to just give Dream the T5. You want to give Benji the opportunity to catch some of those one-shot attackers off guard with those EDDs, but I mean, despite that fluidity, it just hasn't been working for Mirage. One Shot, I mean, they're sticking to their guns, they're sticking to what they know, and no matter what Mirage have been able to throw at them on the defense in these past 2 rounds and in every single of Mirage's defensive rounds on Cafe, One Shot doesn't seem to care. They're rolling through, and they're doing so with relative ease. It's finally Mirage's chance. They've got another chance to stop this. It's again about this roam, about this extension on this basement site. If they can delay a bit of time off the clock here, that's something at least.
Curious that Thomas has already fallen back despite not really coming under fire. He's all the way towards main stairs instead of bar, and in fact he will rotate all the way down back to the site, still with a castle barricade in pocket that he uses to barricade off the bottom main double door. In comes Slippery as well, just to affirm this control. Every single one of these roamers has now defaulted back to the site. Good to see for One Shot. Very happy that this roam, not even contested, went by the wayside at minute 20, minute 15 in. Easy opening of the moto hatch as well, again, because Cade is not as effective. When there's a Thatcher up, Mirage won't even bother playing him, so One Shot's breaches on those hatches are relatively free. So pretty much the same go of it for One Shot as we initially saw, moto hatch being open. Storm's now working his way over towards kitchen and hammering away at the floor, only this time there's someone actively challenging, and that's Dream. Last time, no one from the defense had pushed up this far, but Swaylin will actually opt to open up this kitchen hatch this time, and Dream doesn't even attempt to impact trick. It'll go open for free, and there's a lot of control now in the cards for One Shot.
Yeah, they've got all the control they need to start working on an eventual execute. They don't have the frags just yet, but that wasn't the point of this entire clear. They've forced Mirage back. Mirage haven't opted to contest this roam, I think smartly so. They're not going to lose anybody early, so they'll have the full force of their defense when this execute eventually comes. But we are only 30 seconds away from the end of this round, so we know this execute is on the horizon. At this time, Loading's going to start using those toxic smokes again to see if he can delay as much of this remaining time off the clock, but we know that is not going to delay One Shot inevitably. At some point, it's going to have to be the gunplay to put Mirage over the edge, and now One Shot are going to make the first move. Benji will claim the first victim. That's going to be Quartz to fall. Loading follows up with 2. Thomas with another, and it's all up to Swaylin. Just like that, One Shot are decimated. Swaylin finds one from above, but he is simply out of time. The clock hits triple zeros, and despite an expeditious roam clear and a good bit of map control, Mirage's strategy to stay on the bomb site and dwindle out those last few seconds on the clock seemed to have worked.
Yeah, I guess the big strategy change there for Mirage was not to peek. One Shot were not afforded any opportunities. I mean, even at the latter half of that round, I don't know why One Shot looked so much slower, but the gas canisters really came into effect, delaying the main push. I mean, you saw at the end there, Quartz was forced to just kind of run down into the gas and die. No one from One Shot dropped Moto Hatch either, because there was a castle barricade that for whatever reason, was not cleared earlier in the round. So when Slippery tried to go for a gambit through with the explosive, the castle just turned right around and domed him with the shotgun. Not a lot going there for One Shot in terms of the execute, despite a really good start to the round. Not able to force themselves into church like they did previously either. Good job to Mirage for holding on, and we'll swap now to Jim, ignoring Cash for the meantime, once again bringing that Bandit. And because it's Jim, of course, because it's so window-centric, we have Frost coming out for Dream, but they will forego the smoke, despite how well it worked in the previous round.
Yeah, no smoke. You've always got to look at what you're bringing in place in terms of that plant denial, and as far as this Mirage composition is concerned, I mean, there isn't a ton that you've got. You've got the C4 in Loading's hands, and that is something, but you've also got to consider the bomb site you're on. Gym and Bedroom is a very tough site to get a plant down successfully if there is even a single defender alive in either of the two adjoining sites. If there's somebody in Bedroom, you've got that entire Gym soft wall, the footholes opened up, you're going to deny a plant pretty much from everywhere, and same thing goes the other way around. So One Shot, as far as they're concerned, their job is to get this jacuzzi wall open as soon as possible. If they want to clear over from the other side, if they want to work their way in from Cash and CCTV, by all means, you've just got to deal with that extension as soon as possible. We saw how patient Mirage can be in the late game, and maybe that patience is what won them the round and maybe put One Shot into a tough spot towards the end of round 3.
And the Thermite will go ahead and open the con single wall, make that, anyone in construction, or if there's any construction, hold a little bit more exposed, and it storms with the leadoff pick onto Dream. I'm not even quite sure where that was from. I guess it was just from the windows. Dream caught in on an unlucky timed rotate, I would assume. Bandit's still out on the wall, though. Castle Barricade protecting him is still up, so for now, One Shot will be unable to open Jacuzzi unless they, do some freaky stuff with a Thatcher and, the Ace combining with that Thermite. I don't think One Shot really want to risk their hard breach like that. Never mind. They're going to do exactly that. They're going to risk their hard breach like that. And the nade, well, they were trying to bait out the Bandit with that hard breach charge so they could, get him with the nade, but unfortunately it didn't work. So now One Shot, well, they don't really know what to do.
Yeah, they're out of exothermic charges. Kilo has now used both of them, and Swaylin, guess what? He only has one more Selma charge remaining. Now, one Selma charge is enough to get the wall open, but Loading right now, he doesn't know exactly what's going on. He hears that Selma go down, and I believe he's able to deal with it right away. There it is, the final Selma charge burn from Swaylin. No more hard destruction in One Shot's pocket, despite holding the man advantage. This situation is still about even. Loading has been lit up, and that may be One Shot's saving grace when it comes to just storming in there and taking those gunfights, but now you've got to consider, where could they possibly entry from? Now they've got limited options. It's the windows. It's the Logi drop. It's possibly from the construction side, and the thing is, Mirage know this. Benji will decide to wide swing and contest. Swaylin will punish him, so they further this advantage. Thomas, though, he gets one back. Now the super shorty in hand, and he gets another. He whips around and gets 3. Are you kidding me? Quartz now tries to make something happen. Slippery in the middle of the site. They know they've got Nyx pinched in a tough spot, and they do. They'll take him down, leaving Thomas on the other side of the map, but he's got Diffuser. One Shot have to recover this, and Slippery will just barely grab it by the skin of his teeth. Thomas had no idea it was picked up right in front of his nose. He'll have to go in and do this the hard way. Quartz on the close angle to the left. He's got to be careful despite the Thatcher being so low HP. Thomas will push in with his back turned and almost pulling out a miracle by himself. The castle just could not finish the job.
Wow. What a play from Thomas in Cash, nearly single-handedly winning the round for his team, but there were just too many picks lost in the middle of that round from Mirage. I mean, One Shot starting things off on the window. I think that was Benji attempting to swing aggressively on Platwall and getting taken out. And while Thomas was able to kill all 3 players pushing him, the site players couldn't do much past that. Slippery and Quartz taking the rest out. And at the end, I really thought Thomas was going to win that with his angle through the wall, but Slip was able to just barely long arm pick up that diffuser right under Thomas's nose. Truly a heartbreaker for that castle, especially because Quartz was just so low HP. That was really doable, but At the time that plant went down, the Casual was forced to kind of rush back. One Shot had already set up for his fallback because, I mean, 3 people died to it. They knew exactly where Thomas was. Well done to One Shot, not allowing that round to slip through their fingers, and they'll be able to attack Cash once again, which previously they did almost flawlessly.
Yeah, it was really clean from them, and it wasn't exactly clear, why it was able to happen so easily for them. It wasn't like Mirage committed any major mistakes. There was Loading who didn't bother bandit tricking the main wall, but that's not too big of a deal. You expect that wall's going to open no matter what. But it could have been that because One Shot were able to get that wall open, they had a lot more time to work with. They could be a lot more flexible with where they applied some pressure from. And so now Mirage, they've got to be careful of that. They'll start off the round with just a brutal spawn peek from Nyx. He won't be able to finish off Slippery, but that right there is going to be a pretty major time waster. Now Swaylin has to run all the way to the other side of the map, literally to the opposite spawn to pick up his teammate. Nyx will be lit up a little bit for his troubles, but overall, that is a situation where, Mirage, even though they didn't get a kill, they got enough early pressure to put One Shot in maybe just a slightly uncomfortable spot to kick off a pretty normal round.
Yeah, I mean, they just spent like 35 to 40 seconds just on a trek to Slippery to pick him up, and he might not even survive to the end of this round. I mean, he got a 4K last time, but now he's effectively 1 HP, so, the question remains, will that 40 seconds end up being worth it here for this attack? Now, hopefully, what I'm looking to see is maybe better utility usage from Loading, because, last time he didn't even attempt to challenge the plat wall. It looks like he doesn't again, though Benji does get the refrag on Swaylin after Dream was taken out early. No, okay, that wasn't plat wall being open. I have to imagine then that was Garage. So Swaylin is punished for it. You lose a lot of your hard breach, and One Shot. Ooh, I thought Kilo was going to stick that. I was going to say One Shot not worried about this bandit, I guess, but this time Loading is actively on it with his bandit batteries. In comes another one, and Kilo is just going to go for it because the nade was in time, destroying the battery before Kilo fully put it down and dropping Loading on the floor. I was really concerned for that exothermic charge for a second, but what a well-timed nade there from Storms.
Yeah, now One Shot can continue to do what they do best, and that is simply frag out. Quartz will open things up. A kill onto Benji. Loading, again, low HP. Thomas now finished off. It's going to be down to Nyx, and Loading already lit up against 4 relatively full HP One Shot attackers. Of course, Slippery is the only one on low HP because he was down earlier with that spawn peak. And, the one saving grace for Mirage, Nyx and Loading, they both have a C4, but if One Shot, with all the time they have, and Quartz lining up a quad kill, all they've got to do is just take the time to get this bomb down. Slippery doesn't seem to mind, though. He'll just swing in from behind, catching Mirage off guard, finishing off the round with another just exclamation point for One Shot. They are keeping things clean. They are now at a 4-1 Clubhouse attacking half, and they don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, what did we have in common, Jonah, with those 2 cash attacks? 4Ks.
Yep.
Slip had a 4K the first time. Quartz will have a 4K the second, although Slip will still tag on with that last kill. And again, what a beautiful attack. Although Slip got downed early, they got an opening pick onto the mute. They later naded the bandit just in time so that the exothermic charge was able to open plat wall. Using that angle, the thermite pressured the smoke, got some damage down on the Raptors player, forced him to move right into the line of sight of Quartz. And of course, the attack storm into Garage, take the control, and Quartz simply has the perfect coverage. Well done to One Shot once again. Pitch perfect cash round. Even if Quartz doesn't get a 4K there, I'm sure many of the other guns on One Shot would have come alive in those positions. And now we go back to basement. Now, this is the one site that Mirage have been able to defend successfully, but they are changing their tune. No more Castle, no more Capcan, and they will finally bring out that Cade. They've got an alibi, so they've got, actually, no extra shield. Dream has impacts. I mean, I guess he can impact trick, but I'm not quite sure why he would bring alibi for an impact trick. I mean, usually, alibi is brought for the shield when there's so many more influential operators that can impact trick, like Malusi, like Wamai. Wamai's on the board, Elysian even. But, I mean, they do have the Echo, so that is a, positive note that I'm not going to question. Echo and Smoke, with how late One Shot were attacking, I guess just making sure if they get the control they were looking for. If it's that late again, the Yokais will be there to make sure that the round doesn't go out of Mirage's control.
Well, one shot, the one issue with their last attack and why it kind of, started to slip away towards the end, it wasn't their time management in the earlier mid-round, it was more so their time management in the late round. They kind of got caught out by a couple of great toxic smokes from the side of Mirage. They put one shot into a tough spot and forced them to decide, do they want to go towards the church side or do they want to go towards the Arsenal side? Now, one shot, a proper correction for that would simply be getting things done a little bit faster, forcing Thomas to use those smokes maybe a bit prematurely, forcing those nitro cells or that one nitro cell from loading to come out a little bit prematurely, all of it making that execute eventually a bit easier. Only time will tell exactly which angle one shot do want to approach from, because they are still taking their time in clearing out this map. They do not want to leave any stones unturned. They know Mirage might be getting a little bit desperate on the defense, so they're not gonna make sure to forget to check all those corners, making sure nobody is ratting around or going for a flank.
And of course, these Electro Claws will be done for with these EMPs, but loading is looking for the trick. Now, if the Thermite Charge is the one placed on that hatch and the Thermite Charge is placed early enough, it'll actually detonate before the Electro Claw has time to trigger. So this is a game all about timing. Here comes the first one, Electro Claw to follow up on the trick, but no, did he place it too early? It may have been caught in that initial EMP blast. Quite a misplay there from loading if that's the case, and the Moto hatch will be opened nearly for free. Now, luckily, he does conserve another Electro Claw. He's able to lock out Church, but again, Court still has 2 EMPs, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue if Swaylin wants to use his hard breach for that Church triple wall. One shot now preparing for the Moto drop, already burning out one of these gas canisters. Thomas will use his second, but the big danger here is going to be Nyx on that Echo. Slip is making a solo play down blue, but he'll quickly think better of it because of that barbed wire. Start to stun in behind Generator. It doesn't hit Benji, though. This Jaeger could easily find the kill. The second one doesn't hit either. He'll nab Kilo, the other one onto Slippery. Only one goes the way of one shot. That's Swaylin onto loading, denying one of those C4s. But again, the Echo drone's still up. This shield facing him is still up. Thomas slams him from behind it, and now Quartz is just the last one left. He's got to run with his pistol out, and there's just no hope. Thomas finishes him, and, well, that's the second round. A 2-4 half. Unfortunately, at the disadvantage for Mirage, but it's better than a 5-1.
Yeah, certainly better than a 5-1, and taking both of those wins on the basement site. The second one, it felt like in part to the lack of those Zofia stuns connecting. I think it was Benji behind Generator, right, who was able to just pop up and get the double kill because, well, one shot figured that he would be a little bit crippled behind there. He would be in a tough spot because his angles would not only be cut off by the dual push in, but he would be stunned. He wouldn't be able to get both kills, let alone the first. But with that, immediately one shot got put into a very precarious position because they no longer held the oh so important crossfire between the Moto drop and that Moto to Church run-in and, of course, the other side of that site. If you take control of Generator, you take control of blue, no longer can any defender sit on that site. The position that we saw the smoke playing behind the shield would not have been allowed to happen. I think it was Thomas, again, holding that shield position. That would have been easily cut down had blue control been firmly secured by one shot, but just a bit of a misplay there for them, and they just could not get it done. But despite a messy last round, a 4-2 half is what they've secured. They have certainly won this first half on Clubhouse, but I mean, their work is not over. They still need 3 rounds. Mirage, they're now on the attack, and we very well could be seeing an attacker-sided Clubhouse. It is not unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before. With these bans, though, it could be a bit difficult. Interesting that we have Dream on Blitz. Now, this is something that we've seen before. You know, Spirits is famous for running the Blitz, and so is Mint, but we have seen Dream don this operator quite a few times as well on Clubhouse. So where he pushes remains to be seen. Of course, he might be used to deal with this roam from one shot. Taking a one-on-one against a Blitz as a solo roamer is, well, it sucks. It's really hard, but Mirage might not be worrying about that. this might just be a dirt rush in. Benji already in dirt, looking to climb his way down. Not sure if his entrance is barricaded. It likely is, but he'll be able to make a swift entrance with that impact. Upstairs is Slippery contesting this window player. Loading will miss some few shots, though, and he actually dies to Slippery as he gets off the rappel in a very exposed position. But in the meantime, Plant is going down a dark spot from Nyx. Nothing from the defenses there. Dream actually gets a pistol kill down to bottom main from Church on a Kilo. I don't know if he ADS for that one. If he did, beautiful shot. If not, I guess that was just lucky. Thomas and Slip both been down. Here comes the blitz. Dream nabbing 2 kills. Now it's just Storms and Swaylent having to retake from upstairs against a blitz and 2 other Mirage players with only 20 seconds to do it.
Well, they spotted out Storms, they spotted out Swaylent. They know where they're coming from, and Nyx is going to deal with them accordingly. Swaylent now last alive as Storms is shut down. Not a lot of options for him. He's got a C4 to turn to, but that is well off the mark. 10 seconds and no options remaining as Nyx shuts him down for good. Mirage will secure the round on the back of an excellent rush. Really good use of the blitz, and through, a conceived rush just from their operator selection. We knew it was coming. One shot, they just got blindsided by it. First, it was the play from Nyx on that ace. He went all the way to the roof of Clubhouse, opened up that hatch, opened up that Logi hatch just to make sure that One Shot felt that there was going to be a roam clear. But that was it. You wouldn't have bothered wasting one of those Selmas had there been a cohesive plan to attack that site. Instead, he immediately goes from the roof straight to dirt, opens it up with the remaining Selma charges, and they just send the full force of that attack on in. It was beautifully done. Dream at the helm. I think he collected 3 kills while doing it. I mean, perfectly done from him.
Something like that. Either 3 kills or 2 kills and a finish on a down. But either way, I mean, like you said, perfect blitz play. One Shot were absolutely blindsided by it, no pun intended. But that's enough of the blitz. Dream back on the Thermite now. We'll likely see a much more standard push here from One Shot, or from Mirage. Even though One Shot are roaming once again, they've got that Vigil and the Mute Castle, you know, again, helping these players and covering their retreats. Slippery on that Legion, likely playing on the site, making sure that that roam doesn't, or that rush doesn't happen again. Usually that Storms, rather than playing bar, is actually playing in strip, but even though they don't have the blitz, it might look like Mirage are going to go for a very similar play with Dirt being Nyx's first target.
Right, the only difference, of course, Dream switching from that blitz to the Thermite. So they do have that contingency plan in terms of hard breach if they want to go, you know, for a multi-pronged approach here. But One Shot, they're likely going to be a little bit more on their toes. Both Swaylent and Slippery, they're not going to linger upstairs if they feel Mirage are applying a good bit of pressure towards the site, and if they feel that Mirage, you know, have an option to just go straight in through dirt. But it does seem that Mirage, albeit they have the option to, they are going to go for that full clear. Opening up this castle barricade towards bar, applying a little bit of pressure towards Storms, doing a little bit of work upstairs on that jacuzzi wall. You can see Dream putting himself in that position. So Swaylent and Slippery are starting to work their way over to safety. Now Storms, who thought he was safe because he had the protection of Kilo on the main stairs, was quickly dealt with. That is good heads-up play from Mirage, identifying that weakness and exploiting it.
Yeah, I also thought Slippery was going to be an on-site player, considering that's usually where the Legion is, but he's actually upstairs in Cache, along with Swaylent. So, while Mirage have dealt with one of those roamers, there's still 2 more they gotta deal with, but there's only 2 on site. That's Quartz and Kilo. Now, Quartz does have gas canisters, but if he's caught off guard quickly once again, like he was in the previous round, they might not matter. But there's Nyx getting dusted by Slippery upstairs. Wow, what an angle from Swaylent through the barricade. Felling, loading, and now it's a 4 versus 3. One Shot have turned the man count in their advantage. Oh, wait. Nyx had Case?
Oh, that ain't good.
Uh-oh. That alone may have just secured the round for One Shot. I mean, there's Swaylent in Garage just swinging on Benji. Wow, what a play from Swaylent. And they're probably leaving Slippery upstairs alone to cover Case. Or, no, maybe not. All the roamers, after dropping it, have fallen back, collected a kill, and said, you know what? We might have Case under our control for now, but The time we've wasted and the bodies we've claimed are enough. We don't want this round to go out of control. We don't want to give Mirage the opportunity to get kills, so we'll all just fall back. Play on the site. 30 seconds now. Good shot from Thomas will land on Slippery, and he'll hop right through the rotate. Quartz caught from above the shield. Swaylin low on HP. He's got the C4 to play with the distance, but he'll have to close the gap. Kilo lands a very nice shot on a Thomas above the minibar, and that leaves Dream alone. 1 versus 3. Quartz right next to him can call to his teammates when that plant is going out. Swaylin is not close enough to land the C4. Actually, no, it does.
Wow.
Oh, did it go through the minibar? That may be it. Yeah, because the minibar.
Yeah. Okay, well, I mean, well played there from Mirage. There's no question about it, but Nyx did put them in a tough spot when he dropped that case. I mean, Thomas, trying to be that clutch player. We've seen him be before. We've seen him be in this game alone nearly a couple of times. Almost was, again, that sole player who just jumped into church, took 2 gunfights, won them both, forced Swaylin to back off prone over in blue behind Jen, but One Shot still were able to pull it out. Some good heads-up play, a good long angle from Arsenal, just making sure to provide that coverage, and a nice C4 to finish off the round. It was good that Quartz was still alive. Even though he was downed, he was able to provide the calls when that plant's going down, where that plant's going down, where those 2 players are positioned, just to give those last few one-shot defenders a bit more confidence in terms of taking those gunfights, a bit more of a fighting chance, you could say. And, well, they won that with that very intel. So One Shot will extend their lead back to almost its original state. A 5-3 lead now is what they will maintain over Mirage. They took 1 defensive round, and now they'll be changing it up after going to basement twice in a row. We'll see a CCTV and cache site from them.
And One Shot are bringing the Goya with the TCSG, interestingly enough. I mean, again, that gun fallen heavily out of favor ever since its nerf, but we still see it occasionally. Slippery, donning that, actually looking for a spawn pick. Dude, if he lands a 1-tap, I'll be thoroughly impressed, but unfortunately can't land it onto loading. Also, keep our eye on Storms, who will be in charge of bandit tricking this wall. Also, just realized Storms has 8 assists. I can't remember the last time I saw one player with that many assists.
Yeah, wow, putting in the work, I suppose, assisting his teammate as much as he can. And so far, hey, it's getting the job done. It's getting the job done for One Shot, and, well, they're going to try to do it again here in round number 9. You've got Slippery on the prowl. He's been spotted out, I think, by Benji here in Bathroom, who's just going to hold that angle, but Slippery will take this fight with the TCSG. Doesn't want to allow Benji to take any more control than he is already secured, so the standoff seemingly will continue for now. I think Benji's waiting for the drone to round the corner. He will, and so now he'll back off because he knows Slippery's got to tuck tail and run. But Slippery, he won't work his way up the stairs. He's going to work his way down, which means that he either could be a threat for later, or he could be putting himself in a pretty tough spot, because if Mirage know this, they should be able to pinch him out and deal with him before eventually approaching the site. They could, instead, just go for a more head-on approach and hope that maybe they can leave him out to dry, but Slippery does appear to look to get involved as soon as he can.
Yeah, he hasn't really decided which staircase he wants to ascend just yet, but like you said, at the end of this round, he could be a threat with that C4. In fact, he will climb back up main, maybe looking for a master flank or something, but for now, Mirage have largely ignored Platwall, interestingly enough, so they haven't had to deal with Storms. There are people down, or there is a player downstairs in Lounge armed with a shield that's Swaylin to watch outside Wolf. Here comes the EMP. Dream will go ahead and open it. His charge will be tricked, but the ace will not. So it comes at the cost of 1 exothermic, but at the very least, Mirage have opened something on this wall. Not as big as they would have liked, though. Having to vault through the ace, gonna be a lot more difficult than just running through a thermite breach, so Mirage's options a little bit more limited. They're gonna have to be a lot more thorough before they go for this execute, but thing to note is it's not impossible. You can see Slippery still downstairs watching and waiting for his opportunity to strike. Flashbang will not blind Storms. He hasn't fallen back, though. He is just prone right under this breach. Quartz will land the first kill. Kilo, another on the Nyx, who tried to crouch walk into server. Another for Kilo in Garage, holding it down. Slippery, there's the TCSG ringing its head up, and now it's just loading in a 1v5. well, there is nothing he can do. Everyone from One Shot beginning to fire and rain hell down upon him, and that's going to be One Shot furthering their advantage.
That was brutal in the end. It really felt like Mirage had more of a chance in that round than it ended up being the case, I suppose. They ended up going with the tried and true, or not so tried and true strategy of crouch walking into sight, and I don't think they knew what they were walking into at all. I mean, there were players in the top of red stairs who could see them from behind. There were several players in CCTV proper. I mean, I think, who was it, Storms, who was prone under the breach like an absolute legend? I mean, going for some peculiar plays, there's no question about it for One Shot, and Mirage kind of bringing out their own shenanigans to counter it, but I mean, One Shot were ready for it. One Shot knew they had Mirage on their heels. They were reeling from the lack of control that they'd been able to secure, and because of it, they kind of go for this, I call it the Hail Mary style play, right? You're just arms up to the heavens. You've got one final hope. It can either go really well or it can go horribly, horribly wrong, and there isn't much in between. For Mirage, it went horribly, horribly wrong, and now they sit on match point. This is match point and series point. A loss here for either team, but for Mirage, because they're the ones at risk, would send them down to that lower bracket, where they would end up playing Parabellum for a chance of regaining any shot at making it into the upper bracket again.
And normally I would say, I worry for Mirage in that Parabellum game, but I'm not going to lie. PB didn't look too hot against TSM, so perhaps if Mirage gets sent down to that lower bracket, they still have a really good fighting chance. But of course, that remains to be seen later tonight when that game gets played after the winners match, which is looking like One Shot versus TSM, at least for now, unless Mirage can make that 3-round comeback. They're going to need 3 in a row, which they have not been able to do since Coastline. Or rather, since Coastline and since their Cafe latter half. But here on Clubhouse, certainly not as confident. Courts will just narrowly miss that player rotating through the strip hallway as Mirage begin their downstairs clear, looking to apply any kind of vertical pressure they can on these anchors. There are no Goyo shields, so it's not like they can blow those shields up from below, but there's still nades that they have in their pot. Well, okay, actually, no, not nades. They had the impacts from the Zofia to clear utility from below, but with that opening kill, well, you lose Benji, and you lose a lot of opportunities to go ahead and perform vertical destruction. I mean, Thomas has done one with his breaching round, but he's only got one left.
Yeah, Mirage, they are putting themselves in a very tough spot for this late round. They do not want to walk into this site, especially with a man disadvantage. Of all bomb sites in the game, this one here, it often comes down to the trades. It often comes down to who can outfrag the other. And in that kind of situation, you want as many bodies as you can possibly muster. For now, Mirage, you can see how patiently they are waiting. They are waiting. They're hoping for One Shot to swing into them and gift a life or two back. It doesn't seem that One Shot are inclined to do so, though, right? Slippery is the only one who might be looking to get aggressive. He knows Thomas is lurking nearby, and he will take out the Ash. It is now a 3v5 Mirage even further on the back foot.
Only a minute to play with his Nyx now shoves his way in. Slippery distracted downstairs, though, gets killed, but Nyx very swiftly traded, as is loading. It's all down to Dream. This lone player of Mirage, just a Thermite. 3 and 7, 1 exothermic charge. Flashbangs go in, but immediately caught out by the Wamai discs, and there's a shield staring at him. Nothing he can do against Swaylin. One Shot in their first ever game against a T1 team will emerge victorious and send themselves to the upper bracket match against TSM, looking to go 2 for 2.